And then if something happens,
All right, got 4 o'clock game against Vanderbilt on Saturday, SEC Network. First much nothing said, we'll open up for questions.
All right, we got Vanderbilt here at 4 o'clock at Williams-Brice. Experienced veteran football team, 18 starters back and 12 senior starters on both sides of the ball. You start on offense, and Ralph Webb, a guy that I've got tremendous respect for, a great competitor, runs the ball extremely hard. Blasting game's a back that complements him extremely well. Big back, 240 pounds. Kyle Shermer's playing extremely well this year, 14 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions, and throwing the ball very efficiently down the field. And the receivers are all guys that we've faced. Duncan and Sherfield and Lipscomb are all guys we've faced in the last couple of years. So they got really good skill outside. Derek does a great job with their defense. They're multiple in what they do. They attack you week to week differently in how they want to go after you. And Derek does a great job, and they're very good on special teams. So we've got our work cut out for us here at home. We expect a great crowd, and we're looking forward to getting back home. Injury report, Corey Helms, Zach Bailey, and Malik Young all practiced and will play Saturday. Who will start in those spots will be determined through the week, and who practices the best and gives us the best opportunity to have a good starting 5 in the offensive line. And how much those guys play will depend obviously in their health and how they're progressing through the game. Questionable would be Terry Gouger and Chad Terrell right now for the game. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We'll have a sticker on our helmet and also have pink wristbands to honor that, which I know is important to a lot of the members on our football team and our staff. So I'll open it up for any questions.
Well, with DJ Wanham, he's really coming on these past couple of games in this year. What did you see from him on the recruiting trail that said, I've got to have that guy?
Well, really, Lance Thompson and Tavares Robinson both, kind of discovered him a little bit there at Stevenson High School. A guy that's got a tremendous work ethic. They were able to see him work out and really liked his flexibility in his lower body, his growth potential to be a big man before it's all said and done. His dad, Dennis Sr., is a big man to begin with, and actually his parents are from Thomaston, Georgia, where my wife is from, so we made a pretty quick connection on the recruiting trail about Thomaston's not a big town, and so we made a quick connection there. But an outstanding family. DJ is a hard working guy in our program. He comes to meetings early. He's comes out to practice early. He's out getting warmed up on his own. I mean, he's a self-starter, and God's blessed him with a lot of ability, but he's got a lot of the intangible qualities that really good players have, and he certainly is happy for him and his production because it's paid off to some of the effort and the hard work that he's put in.
Is Terry a concussion? Is that what's got him out?
Right. We're still working through that protocol.
Okay.
Coach, I think you touched on in your call-in show this past week. What's the philosophy of taking the ball first when you win the coin toss?
We always look at matchups and what we feel like best suits us to put our, to get a good start in the game. And I felt like offensively we've had a good matchup and feeling like the confidence in our players to go out and get get some drives going offensively. The first ball game of the year, we returned a kickoff for a touchdown. I know Debo Samuel's not here anymore, but that was a good start. And second ball game of the year, we missed a field goal against Missouri. I believe the third ball game of the year was first play was a touchdown. The fourth ball game of the year, we missed a field goal. The fifth ball game of the year, I think we were 3 and out at A&M. Is that correct? The sixth ball game of the year, we missed another field. We missed 9 field goals this year. So that's been also a little bit deflating for yourself offensively to drive, put together 8, 9, 10-play drive, which we've had, I think, over 10 plays drives, 14 of them this year, 12 or 14 of them this year, and we've missed field goals in several situations. That's deflating for your football team. Hopefully we've improved on that stat moving forward. But, again, it goes back to me as matchups and what we feel like putting our best foot forward to start the game and get our guys emotionally charged early in the game.
Well, what'd you think of how the guy's attitude during the off week about
handling success?
Well, I think we had a good off week. I think sometimes when you don't have a game Saturday, it's hard, especially for younger players, to focus and practice the right way. So I was okay with how we practiced in the off week, to be honest with you. I was very pleased Monday how we came about. We were fresh, and our guys came, and we had about an hour and 15, hour and 20-minute practice, and I thought we were very crisp on the field. And I think our guys understand the opponent we have in front of us, Vanderbilt.
Well, if you guys beat Vandy, you'd go into November, the month of November, with the SEC East title still within reach. What would that say about the program generally, and then what your team has accomplished this year?
You know, really, Gene, we're focused on Vanderbilt right now. You know, and anything past that doesn't really matter. We've got to accomplish what we need to accomplish on Saturday afternoon, and that's been our focus. We haven't talked about anything other than Vanderbilt within our organization.
Do you think you're an SEC East title contender right now?
Certainly, we need to win Saturday. You know.
Well, with Mon Denson, he's going to be that third back now, but the past 2 years he's been hurt, redshirting. Do you ever sense any frustration on his part that he wasn't able to get out there and really compete?
Oh, sure. I mean, you know, you come to South Carolina to get a great education and to compete and play. And when you're not playing, it's always frustrating because you put in a lot of time. You're talking about in the off season in the weight room, the amount of time these young men spend listening to Jeff Dillman holler and scream. I mean, that'll drive you nuts thinking about it, you know. But you spend all that time in the off season, you spend all that time in the summer. You invest so much to not get a return of the gratification of going out and playing. And there's no doubt about that. And I think that, you know, Mon's never been a negative guy. He's always been a guy that's been very positive. He's very popular with his teammates, and that tells me a lot of the type of person he is because he's a wonderful person. You know, as a guy that, you know, be ready when your number's called. And he's a great example for everybody. You look at Blake Camper, you look at a lot of examples on our football team when we've had some injuries, and when your number's called, you need to be ready to go play and play at a high level, and Mon certainly did.
Will, does sort of the shuffling?
You got your haircut, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Off-week haircut, huh? First time you had a chance to do that.
Finally had time, yeah.
Yeah.
Does the shuffling you guys have had to do on the offensive line, does that help in sort of reintegrating the guys who are coming back from injury? And also, how valuable has this time been for Sidarius getting kind of thrown in the fire and going through what he's gone through?
Oh, absolutely. You know, you talk about your first start being at College Station in that environment, and so I don't think there's any question, and he has improved tremendously. You know, he's also repping at left tackle right now with Dennis as well as Malik. So, but I think anytime you're able to, you know, shuffle the deck, so to speak, you create experience, you create depth on your team. It's not about putting the next guy in, it's about putting the best available player in the game, and we've certainly been able to do that. And I think Eric does a really good job of cross-training guys and teaching them not just a position but concepts within the offensive line. And it's created some depth for our football team. And again, I think those guys have, the last 2 weeks especially, have played extremely well against SEC opponents, and especially in the second half of wearing people down and being able to run the football. And we were able to do that in both games.
Coach, I know the standards are always high. I know the expectations you have for the boys are always high. And on Sunday, I remember asking you, if they win the game, if you guys win this game, if you bring up the possibility of, you know, becoming bowl eligible, and you said no. I know last year you talked about, you know, hey, if we win this game, we become bowl eligible. We want for the seniors. Just where's the standard in that sense of just the expectations of where this team is this year compared to last year, and what you expect this team to be able to do?
Well, I think we expect to win, you know, and we understand in order to do that, you got to prepare the right way. You got to go out and practice the right way. You got to go in meeting rooms with the right frame of mind. You got to go in your walkthroughs with the right frame of mind to continue to learn and understand your opponent and respect your opponent, which we've got great respect for Vanderbilt. And in order to play well, to give yourself an opportunity to win the game on Saturday. And I think this team understands that and understands the task at hand. And I think all the other stuff is just clutter you create in your life. And right now, we need to have singular focus on Vanderbilt, and that's what we have.
Where is this team now based where you thought they would be at the beginning of the season at this point, as far as, you know, whether you're on schedule in year 2 or things of that nature? Do you think about those type of things? Where are they at in your mind?
You know, to me, you reflect when the year is over, and we've got a lot of football to play. You know, I told our guys you'll be defined by how you end the season. It starts with Vanderbilt. That's how this team will be defined. And you reflect when the year's over, not while you're in the middle of the season.
In relation to the early signing period, have you begun to sense any difference at this time of year? Do you feel like, do the kids feel like it's more intense than it was this time last year because of the time?
Well, I think that, you know, obviously we've had a lot more discussions as a staff about where we are and where a young man may be thinking and what are his thoughts and visits, and do we need to get him in during the season. I think you obviously speed the calendar up a little bit because of that, because you don't want a young man to make a decision in December and he hasn't come on to your campus officially. So that's always a concern. How serious is he if he hasn't been here yet? I mean, those are some conversations you're having, because at the end of the day, if the guy signs in December, it's done. So, yes, we've had some extensive conversations, longer than we have before, about, you know, the urgency of finding that out. Also, with mid-years, I mean, we've got an opportunity for some mid-years this year, so we've got to be able to be, you know, in a situation to know the guys that we're going to be able to take.
Do you guys have a sense yet about how many players, what percentage might be wanting to do it in December, or is that?
I would love to say yes, but everybody's entitled to change their mind. And suddenly you talk to a young man one week, and I'm signing in December, and you're scheduling the visit, and all of a sudden, you know what, Coach, I'm going to wait till February, the next time you talk. So whatever happens, happens. At the end of the day, you got to be very fluid with it, and you know, that's part of recruiting and understanding things change and not getting frustrated with it. And it's their time, and you got to understand that part of it as well.
Coach, over your coaching career, you have a winning record coming out of the bye week. With this team, how beneficial was this off week, given that you guys had so much success? And last year, you guys won a 3-game win streak coming out of a bye. How did you see the guys kind of use this off time, and your coaching staff use this off time to kind of continue what you guys have been doing?
Well, I'll let you know about the off week after the game. That determines if it was a good one or not. So, you know, but we spent a lot of time recruiting. We recruited on Monday, Thursday, and Friday. And we spent a lot of time studying ourselves, number one, Sunday, and then studying some opponents Sunday night and into Tuesday and Wednesday, and started on Vanderbilt on Wednesday. So we spent some time looking ahead a little bit. I always like to be able to do that, just as you don't have the game sitting right in front of you. You're able to relax, watch the tape, get some ideas to generate as you get into game week for that team. So we were able to do that.
Coach, with Rico out, do you give more responsibility now to Jake, maybe to pass the ball more? Does the offensive philosophy change at all? And then I guess the second part of the question, what do you want to see from Jake here going to the back half of the season?
No, I don't think that we, you know, change as far as, you know, not wanting to run the football. We need to stay balanced in what we do, and there's no doubt about that. And obviously, you know, we expect for Jake to play well. You know, in order for us to play well offensively, we put a lot on him, and we need for him to play well in order for us to be successful.
Coach, Vanderbilt's been kind of a team that their pass rush, getting to the quarterback, only so-so in kind of passing situations, your second, third, and longs. But they've been really, really effective in sort of those non-passing situations, first downs and second and thirds and shorts. Is there something you see on film that's sort of a reason for that kind of stands out with that?
Well, I think schematically Derek does a really good job of attacking protections. And he understands protections, whether it's slide protection, whether it's 3-3 protection, you know, whatever the case may be. And I think schematically he does a very good job of creating some one-on-ones, and especially 77 and 34 inside are two really good inside players, and 11 right on the edge is a guy you've got to deal with. So I think he does a good job of creating one-on-one matchups.
Will, what has Ellis Johnson meant to you guys this year?
Well, again, a guy that's been in our league for a long time, has a great understanding of our league from just an analyst standpoint, analyzing on both sides of the ball, some things we do well, some things we need to work on. But I think it's always important to have somebody else's perspective that I've got great respect for.
Does he also analyze opponents? And if so, like how far forward is he looking?
Well, he looks ahead at opponents as far as down the road and stuff, but he does a lot of quality control work for us within our house, South Carolina offense and defense.
Willow, with Darius Hutcherson, assuming that he does go back to being a backup, how do you think he'll handle that after playing pretty well these past couple of weeks?
Well, again, I think that there's no doubt that he played well. He improved every time out, and a guy that we've got a lot of confidence in. And I don't know that we're ready to make a decision right now on who's going to start Saturday. I know he'll play, and I know he'll play well. And given his opportunities of doing a good job for us.
And Joseph Charlton, how do you think he's done this year? How have you seen him develop over last year?
But he's really come along just from a maturity standpoint and understanding the things, just working at being a dependable kicker and a guy that's always had the skill set. I mean, the guy's really talented, and but he's been critical for us in some games to be able to hang the ball up there, to be able to go to Texas A&M and play a guy like Christian Kirk and know we're going to get a 5-second hang time on the ball. We're not worried about trying to kick the ball out of bounds and shanking the ball, but we're able to kick the ball down the field and really get no return yards for the entire game because of the hang time. He's been able to flip the field for us in several situations as far as to be able to win the battle of field position, which I think in 7 games, I think we've won it 5 or 6 times, and I think a lot of that has to do with him.
Coach, offensively, Jake talked about how red zone work was a big thing that you guys focused on this week. Is it as simple as just execution and finishing, or is there other points of emphasis that you kind of brought up with them this week?
Well, you always want to study yourself schematically and what have we failed at in those situations, and we've looked at that. When you talk in terms of execution, I think that's a loose word, and it starts with coaching. That's what it starts with. What are we calling to put the guys in situation? And I'm talking about in all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. If a young man doesn't execute, we either didn't rep it enough, he doesn't understand it enough, or we need to find somebody else to do it. At the end of the day, that's where you got to look at it. So that's a fancy word to say those 3 things. Either we're not repping it enough at practice, or we got to find somebody else that can do the job. Because obviously, if we're repping enough at practice and you've put it in front of him enough times and he doesn't understand how to do it, then we got to find somebody else to do it if we can. So those are things to me that we evaluated and looked at. I think there's some things that we like moving forward a little better maybe than we had in some other games. At the end of the day, we've missed 9 field goals this year. We've turned the ball over on downs on the 1-yard line. We've turned the ball over as far as a turnover inside the 5 and had another turnover in the high red zone. That's a lot of points that we've left on the field. And it's very frustrating. It's also very deflating for an offense and for a football team to come out of that in those situations. And we've lost 2 games by a grand total of 17 points. And if you add up all those trips in the red zone, it comes up to about 18 points, or something. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's frustrating, and again, we've got to be able to not turn the ball over down there. We've got to be able to convert some short yardage and goal line situations better. And those are things we've all just gone back and looked at.
Coach said over the bye week you guys were working on 3rd down offensively, trying to pick up first downs. How do you guys do that, and how important or what can you do maybe on 1st and 2nd down to get ahead of the chains and make it a 3rd and short situation?
Well, I think, we've looked at some manageable situations, and that is always an evaluation that you say, okay, what put us in 3rd and 12? That's not a good down and distance to be playing. You want to manage to 3rd and 6 or less. 3rd and 3 to 6 is a manageable down and distance on 3rd down. So those are all things that we've looked at. Certainly 1st and 2nd down have a lot to do with it, but then you go back on 3rd down and say, okay, these are the things that are working well for us. These are the things that haven't worked well. Because you look at the Tennessee game, we don't convert a 3rd down in the first half, and then we come back and you have pretty much 100%, I think, to the last one of the game down in the red zone when we were going to run the ball to try and kick the field goal to make it a 2-score game. You look in terms of the 2 losses we've had 25 drives. We've had 14 3-and-outs in those 2 ball games. And you've got to convert some 3rd downs to stay on the field. And when you're able to stay on the field, we've been very effective as far as those things are concerned. So that, to me, is why I narrowed down 3rd down as a critical down for us offensively, but also defensively, because where we've struggled defensively is when we haven't gotten off the field on some 3rd down situations. And you look at Louisiana Tech and you look at Kentucky, in those 2 games, we had a hard time getting off the field and really struggled, and it caused to flip the field and not be able to get it back going our direction.
Coming into the Tennessee game, you guys are one of the least penalized teams in the country, and you had an uncharacteristically high total against Tennessee. How have you worked on addressing that, and more specifically, how have you worked on addressing like the defensive pass interferences, defensive holding, stuff in the secondary?
We didn't have any PIs in that game, did we?
Not in that game, but I'm just saying over the course of the season.
Right. Well, again, that's all objective, as you look at it, as far as where is the young man in position to make a play on the ball? Should he have played the ball, in those situations? We had two really poor decisions, two blocks in the back that killed us field position-wise that we have not had all year, and two really poor decisions by two players. That's been addressed. And I don't know, to me, I look back and we did have one PI in the back of the end zone, which was a good decision by our player. So I think you evaluate all of those plays, to me, individually, and you go back and study them and say, okay, what could we have told the player better in this situation? And you try and be technical in your approach about, in this situation, but you don't clump them all together and say, well, this is all pass interference, or this is all holding, or this is all this. To me, it's all individual situations. But I still do think we are the least penalized team in the SEC, which really has nothing to do with winning. But I guess it's a good thing to say we're disciplined.
For your offense and explosive plays, are you pleased with what you guys have done to this point? And is there any way you can create more? Does that sort of happen organically? And on the defensive side of the ball, do you like what you guys have done in terms of limiting explosive
Well, whenever
plays?
you're able to have more explosives, it's going to create more scoring opportunities for you, obviously, because you create field position for yourself, you create shorter fields for yourself, and you create scores for yourself. So, I think that we've improved tremendously in the last two ball games in the run game. I think we had 8 explosive runs against Tennessee, which is over 10 yards to me. And that's the most we've had all year. I think most of them, 6 of them occurred in the second half, so that means we wore down our opponent in those situations. Got to continue to look at some things in the run game to create more explosives for us. I think if you look at numbers of 20-yard passes or more in the SEC, we're very comparable with everybody else in the league. We're at the upper half of the league as far as those things are concerned. And then you asked me about defense. Yeah. I think that certainly late there, giving up the one big pass was the only explosive pass we gave up last week against Tennessee, and that was a busted coverage. That had nothing to do with it other than not covering a guy. So, again, I look at all those situations as one play at a time. Why did these things happen? Did we get bounced out of a gap? Was it an eye control? Was it a busted assignment? Was it a missed tackle? Was it a lack of not covering a guy? Whatever those situations are. I do think, for the most part, defensively, we had more explosives probably in the Missouri game than we've given up all year, and a lot of that was in the perimeter passing game. And something more of what they do in the comebacks and some of the things, and Drew Lock being able to throw the ball outside against some skilled guys. So, but I haven't, we haven't given up a lot of explosives other than the 61-yarder against Missouri there on the pop pass that we busted, carrying the guy down the middle as far as just big scores on us, and we've got to continue to do that.
Coach, with your 3 offensive linemen coming back, how confident are you in that this team can consistently run the ball, given that running the ball does, so much for this team?
Well, again, we just need to stay balanced in what we do, and that's something with those guys' experience coming back. But I've been really proud of Sedarius Hutchinson and Blake Camper and the guys that have filled in and done a nice job. Dennis Daly have all done a nice job for us, and the best motivator I have is competition. And those guys understand if they practice the best, they'll start, and if they practice good enough, they'll play. And that's kind of where we are right now.
Has Chris Lamont's taken to the safety position as well as you expected he would, given
Absolutely.
that he played corner a lot?
He's done an outstanding job. Sometimes that's a hard move for a guy that really played well at corner last year for us, and then all of a sudden you're asking him to move in and play a totally different position that's a little bit foreign to him. But he's worked extremely hard at it. I think he's been very productive, and all it does is versatility creates value for you as a player. And this is going to really help him moving forward. He's also played a bunch of nickel snaps for us this year as well. But he can play multiple spots. He's extremely bright, extremely intelligent. He has man coverage ability, which is going to really help him moving forward. But he's been a guy that's made some really nice plays for us this year.
Any questions for Coach?
All righty. Thank you.
Pete?